Hey everybody, and welcome back to Lindsey's Little Library. So today is BookList Thursday, and BookList Thursday is something I do with Sarah over at Sarah's Nightstand. We come to you every Thursday with some sort of book thoughts, ideas, recommendations, something bookish related. Today's subject's pretty fun because I love giving shout outs to authors that I don't feel like are talked about all that much. So we're gonna talk about our favorite, maybe not so popular authors today. So I have a few of them below. I'm sure some of you have heard of some of them. I have talked about them before. But again, just seeing overall, I don't see a whole lot of talk about these authors. And I'm just going to tell you why you should read their books because they're awesome, pretty much. First one I have is Susan Meisner. The one book I've read that I fell in love with her was Secrets of Her Charmed Life. She writes some amazing historical fiction. She does her research, which I truly appreciate in historical fiction. I know it's fiction. I know the actual literal story didn't happen, but I need the events that surround the story to have happened. So this is dual time perspectives, which Susan Meisner is fantastic at. So we have, this one follows two sisters, Julia and Emmy, which I have, my daughter's name's Emily, so every time I read this, all I picture is Emmy, like, as her. Anyways, they are sent away from London to be protected because of World War II. Things happen. I don't know, I don't want to spoil anything. I don't want to just read the back, but I just love the adventure that these two girls go on, the sisterhood that they have, the determination they have. It's fantastic. It's awesome. And like I said, I've read her other book, As Bright as Heaven, was another fantastic book. That one followed the Spanish flu, which again, I wasn't totally aware of what that was, how that happened or what was behind that. But she gives you these families that you can't help but just love and root for, and these characters that you're just, I can see myself in them. It's fantastic. Pick up some Susan Meisner if you're a historical fiction fan. Let's keep going with some historical fiction fun, but the next author I'm loving is Joanna Goodman. I picked up her book, The Home for Unwanted Girls, and it was one of my favorite books of 2019. Again, her historical fiction, but I can picture myself in these stories. She brings one of the worst villains I've ever met in a book is in this book, and it's a nun. Just, oh my gosh, the creativity that she has with this, the way she writes. This one was more, I felt more emotional with, let alone adventurous, like Susan Meisner feels more of an adventure. But just, I was so in love with these characters, and again, kind of found myself going down a rabbit hole around the events that this book was based upon. So this takes place in 1950s in Quebec. And through a little issue with some government regulations, it was more profitable to run an insane asylum than it was an orphanage. And so some not very great people basically turned an orphanage into an insane asylum. So here are these poor children who are now being treated as inmates instead of as orphans. So sad, and again, one of the most villainous characters I've ever met. One of the worst characters I've ever met is in this book, and Joanna just brings this person, I mean, you just loathe her with a passion. And any author that can make me have that many feelings is fantastic. The next one I want to talk about is Corbin Addison. This is The Garden of Burning Sand. I haven't read this book yet, but I read his other book, A Walk Across the Sun. And again, Corbin Addison does a really great job bringing to light issues that are happening in today's society. So A Walk Across the Sun talks about human trafficking, how truly real it is and how truly horrible it is, and how some of these poor children are in a situation that has nothing to do with anything that they did, and so sad. Just reading that book really opened my eyes. This one again talks about human rights in Africa, focusing around a girl with Down syndrome who is sexually assaulted. I have no doubt this will break my heart because Corbin Addison doesn't sugarcoat things. He he shows you exactly what it is, and I truly love that he does that. I need to pick up more of his books because it just opens my eyes to what is truly going on. Yes, they are works of fiction, but that's how he can speak to me and really show me what's happening, because sometimes I don't always see it, and so I appreciate that. But it's a page turner. They go quickly. He writes very well, but they're hard to read because they're not great subjects, but I appreciate that. The next one I have, I know you guys have heard me talk about this before, Chevy Stevens. Oh, she does a phenomenal job at her psychological thrillers, or even just thrillers in general. This is the book that got me started, was Those Girls. I've read That Night. I've read, was it The Secret Life of Cece? Was that my other one? I think I've read like 3 or 4 by her. But she's just fantastic. She has twists that you don't see coming. Again, not hard to read, but I can't stop because I just need to know what's happening. And every time I think I figure it out, I'm wrong, and she throws me totally off course. So fabulous mystery thriller, psychological thriller, suspense type of an author. I know anytime I pick up her books, Still Missing was the other one that I read. Anytime I pick up her books, I'm not going to be disappointed because she puts you in such just freaky situations with her characters, and they're fantastic. The next one I want to talk about is Simone St. James. I read The Broken Girls. Was it last year or the year before? The year before, I think. Another fantastic author. I can still picture this boarding school. I can still picture the grounds of this place and the fog, and I can smell it. It's just, she creates this atmosphere that you can't help but just be transported into. Like I said, I can vividly picture this school, this boarding school that this is about. So this is it's dual time perspectives, because I just love dual time perspectives. I don't know. So we have 1950 and then present day. And so 1950, there are 4 girls that we follow that are sent to this boarding school that is kind of for not the greatest children to go to. And then we have present day, and we follow Fiona, who's a journalist, and she just cannot stop obsessing over her sister's murder, and she's convinced that there are some details that are not figured out yet. So she figures out that her sister's body was found by this Idlewild Hall, which is the same boarding school that these other girls went to, and there's obviously a link between these two. There's a ghost who I again can still picture this. I can picture the boarding school. So she's so, I don't want to say overly atmospheric because I don't like super atmospheric books, but she does such a great job of transporting you into the story fully. So Simone St. James is definitely an author that I think needs more props. So those are my 5 kind of not so popular authors that I really think you need to check out. And just do it. Just don't argue. Just go do it, right? Anyways, go over to Sarah's channel. I'll leave her link below. See what 5 authors she picked for today and why, because I'm interested to see what she has, because maybe I'll find some new ones. Maybe there's some on my shelf I need to read. Otherwise, like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you next time.